So you guys like that I busted out homage with an H.
It's homage, honey.
Whatever.
Let's run with it.
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely little co-host, Lynn.
Always check your candy.
And joining us again, the podcaster with a degree in terror, Tony.
Hey, how's it going?
Tonight, we will be discussing the 2007 horror comedy Trick or Treat, written by Michael Dougherty, directed by Michael Dougherty, starring Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, and Dylan Baker. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. So everybody, it is my birthday, so maybe just for this one episode, you can all hit the like button as a little birthday gift to me. And then next week, you can go back to just ignoring it again. Just this one little week for me. Okay. I don't know. Let's Thank you. Let's do some opening thoughts on this one. I will get us started. So, I have never seen this movie before, but it definitely felt familiar to me. In my opinion, this is a bit of a love letter to several different movies that I have seen in the past. Now, I don't necessarily say this negatively. It's more of a homage to the classics while also maintaining its own identity. The question is, was its identity any good? I don't know. Let's find out. Tony, you picked the movie, so I know you've seen it.
You were so proud of that statement, weren't you? You spent like a lot of time writing that one down. I sat here just waiting for it to go downhill, and it never did. Really, well done.
Thank you, sir. I told you I did my homework this week. I'm prepared. I'm prepared.
You get the thesaurus out and everything. All right. I love this movie. I'm not going to hide it. I will be championing it throughout. Yes, it is very familiar. Yes, it takes all the tropes we know and puts them together in a trick-or-treat bag filled with like the Snickers and Reese's, because those are the best candies of any trick-or-treating. Everything about this movie works for me. The music, the acting, the tongue-in-cheeks, the winks to the audience, has enough gore, but not overdone. It has enough, it's got the sex there for the teenagers, you got a little bit of that. The cast, you can't beat the cast in this movie. My God, every 10 minutes, another person's like, hey, it's that guy. Hey, it's that girl. It's all around. This is Halloween in a movie, the way it should have been done.
So I'll agree. This is a bag of candy. The question is it Snickers bars or is it those marshmallow peanuts that you don't want to see? I don't know. We're going to have to get into it. Dylan, Did you ever see this movie before preparing for tonight's podcast?
I had never seen it before. And the interesting thing is I was very much under the assumption that this was a little child dressed in a little Halloween costume killing people. I had no idea that it was an anthology. I knew nothing. So I pretty much was coming in blind other than seeing the little picture of Sam on the cover.
Yeah, I was the exact same. I knew nothing about this movie, just nothing. Like when we started this, before I started doing my research, it could have been about anything. So I don't know. But it was definitely not what I expected. I will say that. Let's do some movie facts on this one. I've got a bunch of stuff here. So most of the jack-o'-lanterns were made out of either foam or ceramic. And an on-set joke was that no pumpkin was harmed during the making of this movie. I thought that was pretty funny. All the performers under the masks playing the kids on the school bus all had real disabilities or injuries, and they apparently had a lot of fun doing the shoot. I thought that was a really cool fact.
Interesting.
And I thought this was very clever, how the movie explores the concept of what Halloween means to us at different times of our life, different stages of our life. And I'll just break it down quickly. So Halloween is a young child. When you're a little kid, Halloween night is all about one thing, trick-or-treating. It's nothing cooler than being able to go out and get free candy between like the ages of 5 and 12.
I'd still like that.
Yeah. Second phase is a preteen when you're in that middle school, early high school age. you're kind of too old for trick or treating, but you're too young to go out and party. So what do? You get the eggs, you get the shaving cream where you put the pin in and use the lighter to make the hole smaller so it sprays out. You get the fucking toilet paper. You go out with your friends and it's all about horrifying, which I remember doing and loving. Third stage, and these are all the stages we're getting in this movie as we go through it. Stage 3, as a young adult, when you're a young adult in your late teens, early 30s, Halloween takes on a whole new meaning for you. Now it's about dressing up as something you wish you were, getting drunk, partying, having fun. Fourth phase, Halloween is a parent. When you become a parent of a child and they hit the age where Halloween becomes an important part of their lives. And you're teaching them the traditions, passing down what you're taught, helping them make costumes, carving pumpkins. And then finally, the final stage, which is where I'm at, old person. When you're a senior citizen, you've just about had enough of the ghoulish holiday. You just want to sit down, be left the fuck alone and watch TV, and proverbially not be getting up to answer the door every 5 minutes to give out candy to strange kids. So I thought that was very clever how he took us through that, how he took us through that in this movie. And you see it from the perspective of all the different ages. And you can really relate to that as somebody who's been through all that. And it really adds a little more weight to the holiday of Halloween. So, yeah. Tony, do you have any facts on this?
Way too many.
Okay.
Really, what it comes down to is I just love the fact. I mean, I love so much about this movie, but just the fact that the way this movie is told. I mean, think Pulp Fiction for Halloween. It's
Yes.
all of these intertwining stories that really only play out maybe two will cross paths, but there's this thread throughout all of it. As you're going through maybe storyline B, you see where storyline A actually crosses into this. Like a character from that will bump into somebody from storyline C, and all of a sudden, oh, that's when that happens. And then, like 20 minutes later, when you're in storyline C, you see that person from storyline A bump into them. And the way the timing works out, I was so impressed the first time through that. The writing of it, the way it all ties together, the way the timeline completely works, so smartly written, so
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, and Tony, it's funny because he's able to do this while not keeping the timeline linear. So we're going back and forward and sideways in time, and it's all working. It's all working.
Oh, completely.
It's yeah, really, really well. And it's very difficult to do that. If you're not keeping the script fairly tight, it can get wonky when you start going forward and backwards in time. You're like, well, we were just there. But nope, worked perfectly here. Perfectly. Um, Dylan, do you have any facts on this?
So the one fact that I have was that I was kind of interested in how they did the fight with Krieg and Sam because, you can't fuck up a kid like that.
Well,
And
you can, but
yeah,
rules.
but there are certain laws against it.
Yeah.
But so Sam, I guess during that scene was an 8-year-old child in some shots. Like I think, especially when you needed them to look really short, and then it was an adult female who was just a short adult female in other shots, like when they were really kicking ass on.
Oh, so it's okay. You can punch a short woman in the face, but you can't beat up a kid. Okay, good. I got
I mean,
it.
if you're paying her, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
dwarf tossing is a borrowed time activity sometimes.
you got to pay extra for that kind of fun, Cotton.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. With a box office budget of $12 million and a box office return of $27.9 million, this movie was definitely considered a success. Not a smash success, but it was definitely a success. So, Tony, for you, I am bringing back the Fast Five this week, something we have
love
not
these.
done in many, many months. I took some time writing this up, and I think that you will enjoy it. So today's
Excited.
Fast Five is methods of murder, which is
Ah.
worse. Okay, so this is methods of murder, which is worse. Which one do you think you would think to be the worst way to die? Number one, chainsaw or butcher knife? Tony, which is worse?
Butcher knife.
Dylan, which is
Slower.
worse?
Slower.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Chainsaw's pretty like. Bleh. No thanks. I'm gonna go with chainsaw.
I think the correct answer is butcher knife. It's so much more personal. And like
Okay.
Tony said, it's slower. It just sucks. No, I don't.
Just Saving Private Ryan. The scene. Shh, shh.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
slowly putting in his chest, and he's like, ah. Like, that is the
Oh
worst death on
God.
film. I've seen
Yeah.
every extreme horror movie. That one I still just forward through that. Can't watch it.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was a scene similar to that in 8mm as well, when
Oh,
the
that's
creep
a
is
movie.
giving her the knife. Number 2, buried alive or drowning by being cinder block chained at the ankle and thrown off a boat. Tony,
Buried Alive.
you think that's worse?
I think Buried Alive is worse because you're going to last a lot longer there.
Yeah. Dylan.
Yeah, buried alive is worse.
No, the answer is having a cinder block chained to your ankle and thrown off a boat because you're going
It's
to
over in
drown.
a couple minutes.
No, you're going to drown. It's going to be horrifying. You're going to be struggling. Somebody puts you in a box and sticks you in the ground. You're going to pass out from lack of oxygen and just die in your sleep. So give me buried alive.
After maybe 45 to maybe an hour and a half of
Plenty of.
terror, of
plenty of-
complete terror and darkness, and no.
I wouldn't be terrified. I would take the opportunity to jack off one last time.
Oh, God.
Number 3,
God, help you.
poisoning caused by unspeakable pain. Okay, so poisoning causing unspeakable pain for 2 days before death.
2 days.
Okay, so we get this. Poisoning causing unspeakable pain for 2 days before death, or slow starvation. Tony, which one?
Poison.
Dylan.
Oh, God. I think I wouldn't want to starve. I think 2 days is better than starving for God knows how long on end.
Yeah, the correct answer is poison for 2 days. Okay.
You can always cut a foot off and eat it. We've seen this in films. So you can
Okay.
always find protein somewhere. That's jacking off in a
God.
box.
Oh, little poop sandwich. Okay. Number 4, eaten alive by a cannibalistic serial killer or skinned alive by a man making a woman's suit. Tony.
Ooh, that's a hard one because the skinning is. You got to add some salt and lemon in there for to get the really good pain going on. So I'll go eaten alive
Dylan.
Yeah, I think eating alive would be worse.
Yeah,
because
there's
you're
no
watching
question.
them do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no question. Being eaten alive would be terrible. So eaten alive is the correct answer. And this is my last one, and I'm proud of this one. I think this is lovely. Number 5, death by starving rat in cage placed on your head for 2 weeks, or death by a school of rabid piranha in a giant fish tank. Tony, how would you rather die?
I would go the rat because if he crawls in front of you, you can at least bite him and try to get yourself out of there.
Oh, shit.
Piranha, there's too many coming at you. There's the drowning. There's the slow dismemberment. So no, I'll go rat.
Okay, Jolene.
Oh, God, I don't like either of these. They're terrible.
They are.
I think I'd rather go piranha. I think it would go faster than having a rat eat my face.
The correct answer is piranha. You do not want a fucking starving rat eating. Think about how little that thing's mouth is. Oh, no. That's going to take a while.
Death by a million pinches.
Death by a million pinches, which is basically the story of my marriage over the last 20 years. Okay. All right. So we've done it. Fast 5. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will now give you a little synopsis on this one. 5 Halloween stories. A principal has a secret life. A virgin is looking for her first time. A group of kids pull a prank. A woman who loathes Halloween does not respect the rules. And a mean old man meets his demonic trick-or-treater. There you go. That was demonic. Trick-or-treater.
I was confused by what that word was.
Okay.
Mnemonic?
Yeah.
Mnemonic, bubonic, bubonic.
So you guys like that I busted out hominage with an H. Okay.
It's homage, honey.
Whatever.
Let's run with it.
Shit.
Oh,
I like this genre.
I've got jaundice.
He says genre, like DRA, and I always tell him it's not genre, it's genre. And
I used to say genre, so I can't say anything.
Oh, God. Okay. Janair, get us going.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. A couple dressed as a robot and a spacefaring hero return to their Halloween decorated home. The robot, Emma, takes a jack-o'-lantern to blow out the light, but her boyfriend Henry tells her that it's against tradition to undecorate before midnight. Emma wants all the decorations gone before her mother visits in the morning and blows out the candle. Henry goes inside to get ready for sexy times, while Emma decides to start pulling down the decorations. A discarded ghost sheet lunges at her, covering her in the white cloth. In the ensuing struggle, someone uses a jagged, pumpkin-shaped lollipop and slits Emma's throat. The hidden assailant drags Emma's body back into the yard as Henry lies upstairs, passed out. Sometime later, he notices Emma has not come upstairs and goes down to the yard where he removes a sheet that catches his attention and finds Emma's disembodied head on a stake with a pumpkin lollipop lodged in her mouth. I was a little concerned when I saw this scene because I'm like, I don't like this. This kind of sucks. I was nervous. I'm like, I'm not liking where this is going. I'm going to give a spoiler and say that changed as we moved ahead. But initially I was like, oh, this is cheesy. I don't like it.
Yeah, because that all happens before the title credits even go.
Exactly. This is an
Yeah.
opening scene, but I kind of feel like it was using the Scream thing, the Drew Barrymore thing, like
Yeah.
killing, a big star at the beginning, because I recognize both of these actors, so I was kind of thought that's what they were kind of doing, which okay, but at the same time I was like, oh, please don't let the rest of the movie be like this. So
Yeah,
Des,
killer's point of view, the whole
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
It was literally stereotypical on purpose to make you think that.
yes. Des, what did you think?
So I was the opposite of you. So right off the bat, this felt, again, like I said in my opening thoughts, very familiar, but in a good way. Um, Again, obviously a love letter to so many classic horror movies, and to a lot of the ones that I've actually seen, and I have not seen them all. We get the creep show vibe with the comic art. I loved it. Then we
Yeah.
get the play in the opening scene on the original Halloween movie, their opening scene, where you get the point of view from the child killer. I loved it. I was along for the ride. I was like, oh, I know what this is. Then we get the teenager in the white mask standing across the street staring at Emma. I thought it was so good. I was like, yes, this is how it's done. They weren't hiding it. They knew that if you got it, you got it. And if you didn't, you didn't. And I got it. Then we get the bloody slashing under the sheet. This one reminded me of that opening kill in A Nightmare on Elm Street, in the bed under the sheets. I mean, it wasn't a ripoff, but it took me right there. And it brought me back to when I saw that and I was having fun. So right off the bat, I am really enjoying this. And I was not expecting it at all. I thought this opening sequence was really, really great.
Everything you said there. I mean, again, I'm a huge sucker for lighting, scenery, and atmosphere. This movie, right off the bat, we get it's fall, it's nighttime, it's not too dark, it's not too light. It's literally this is one of those movies I will always praise that you could pause any scene, and if I printed that out, this is what Halloween is. This is what Halloween is. It's like perfect. There's always a jack-o'-lantern scene. There's always like some shadow and some creepy looking thing, even in the bright scenes. It's so well done. The one thing that I read as I was, after I watched it, and that I had to actually go back through, is that every single kill in this movie happens off screen. You don't see any slashing, you don't see any biting, you don't see anything like that. And that, I'm like, that can't be right. I remember this movie being really violent and bloody. It is very bloody, but it's all aftermath. And I'm like, this one has to but no, it all takes place under the sheet. The sheet is
Yes.
white, all of a sudden splashes red. I'm like, that is so fucking genius. Like the way he did it, he didn't have to pare it down because it's not extremely violent.
Right.
But still, you can hear how vicious it is.
Yeah, but what's really weird is this is a rated R movie. And they could have done so much more, but I don't think that would help this movie be better. I think it would
No.
ruin it. This movie knows what it is. And that's what really got me about it. And like you said, Tony, so a lot of people might watch this movie and think, oh, this town, this is so unrealistic. People are able to kill each other right out in open because there's a parade going on. But no, this is a comic book. This is the town I want to be in when I'm reading this comic book. This is Horrorville, USA.
It's Salem. It literally is Salem.
It's
If
Salem.
you've been to Salem on Halloween or any time in the last week of October, that is literally what this is.
Yeah.
You can't go 10 more feet without someone throwing up, partying, in costume. You can't move through the crowds. And it wouldn't surprise me that the people passed out in the corner, one of them is actually dead. Because it's
Yes.
just the way he placed her next to other people who passed out in the corner fit the scene. And it was
Yeah.
like, again, everything is so well done in this movie. Thought out so you're not going, oh, that's dumb. I mean, the things that were dumb were supposed to be dumb because you're supposed to question it until he gives you the resolution,
Right.
which is what I liked. He knows what you're supposed to think, and he sets up your thinking pathway and delivers what you really were hoping was going to be good, and it is.
Yeah, and what you said right there is exactly echoes my thoughts about all of these little twists we get. Whether they're transparent or not, whether you saw them coming or not, they're satisfying. Every story has a satisfying little piece of candy at the end. Like, there you go. You watch the story, have a piece of fucking poison candy. Cool.
A trick-or-treating overweight boy stops at one house where it appears no one's home. A bucket full of candy is set out with a sign saying, "Please take one." The boy grabs all the candy instead and stuffs it in his bag when somebody startles him from behind. The boy recognizes the man as Principal Steve Wilkins, who addresses the boy as Charlie. Wilkins sits down on his porch, inviting Charlie to sit and talk with him as he offers him a chocolate bar. Little does Charlie know that candy bar is drugged. Charlie violently vomits blood and chocolate and passes out. Wilkins drags Charlie into the house just as his doorbell rings. He answers and sees 3 teenagers who ask if they can take his jack-o'-lantern. He agrees and gives them all some candy, including a small boy wearing orange footed pajamas and a burlap hood with buttons for eyes and stitching for mouth, known hereafter as Sam. Wilkins then dumps Charlie's body in a large hole dug in his backyard where another child's body is already laying in the bottom of the hole. As he tries to bury the bodies, his small son, Billy, appears in the windows upstairs and shouts down to him repeatedly, annoying the hell out of him and me. Let's see.
Oh, I loved it.
You did it.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
I'm just waiting until you're done. I have so much to say about
Okay.
this segment. I love it.
Frustrated, he tells him each time to be quiet and wait for him inside. Meanwhile, the neighbor's dog is barking at him as the first child in the grave gives him some trouble. Wilkins gives the dog the kid's finger to distract him. However, its surly owner, Mr. Krieg, comes into the yard and peeks through a hole in the fence to speak to Wilkins. Wilkins passes off his activity as a septic tank leak, and Mr. Krieg goes back in his house. Wilkins finishes the clown child off with a blow from his shovel and buries the bodies. As he walks back into his house, he notices Krieg motioning to him from his window across the way. He ignores him and goes into the house just as Krieg is tackled by something that we can't see. In the kitchen, Billy jumps out from behind the counter, scaring Wilkins and asking for help on his jack-o'-lantern. Wilkins takes a butcher knife and follows Billy to the basement. Billy says, "Let's make a scary face this time," as Wilkins puts his hand on Billy's head and brings the knife down. The blade is bloody as he draws it back, but Billy smiles and says, "Don't forget to help me with the eyes," as they look together at the severed head of Charlie on the wooden turntable. They got me with this one. I didn't see it coming. It was awesome. It was awesome. I just figured he's killed Charlie and Charlie's in the hole. You don't even think Charlie's head is there. It was great. Loved it.
Yeah. So first of all, I think I recognize Charlie from Bad Santa. Is that right, Tony?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So
the most unlikable kid ever.
Oh yeah, he's Augustus Goop.
This kid.
He's Augustus Goop. This is Augustus from fucking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Well, you wonder if they name him Charlie for that reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was what I got. So my thought on this bowl of candy, right, was that all the candy was poisonous, but in small enough amounts that if you took just one, it wouldn't hurt you. But if you took a handful, it could fuck you up. So, I mean, I just kind of came up with that on my own because it just kind of felt like it would fit the just take one thing. I don't know. Maybe not.
See, I would disagree because he only ate one candy bar from it. And
but
that's
he
what
got
happened. He only ate half of it.
He actually, I believe Wilkins gave him that. Didn't he give him that
From
candy bar like out of his pocket? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the one thing about that when he hands the candy out to the 3 kids and he hands one to Sam, the candy bar he hands to Sam is the one that Sam uses with Krieg later, which has a razor blade in it. So I always took it as Sam had that as his own weapon, but it turns out he just took a bite of it and it was actually a razor blade in it from him trying to kill the kids. So he ended up using it against Krieg, which I didn't realize again until more research. So there's small things like that, again, carrying back and forth. And I'm like, wow, this is so good. Sorry, I interrupted.
That's okay. So apparently the candy companies didn't want to participate in the idea of poison candy with children. So the crew had to make up their own name for the candy bars. And the one that kills Charlie is the Big Fudge Log. I thought that was fucking hilarious, man. And is it possible? Now, I know it's not likely. Now, maybe this is not a good theory, but is it possible the other body in the hole is Wilkins' wife? I mean, he says, he calls up to Billy, and your mom's fucking dead or whatever he says. And I was thinking he
Oh,
killed
which
her.
mummy was that?
Yeah, I
I
think he
would say
killed
no
her.
because it was a clown arm hanging out. It was another kid.
But
It was a
maybe
clown scene.
mom was dressed up as a clown and he killed her
No, I
and put
think
her in the
mom.
backyard.
I think he definitely killed mom. I just don't think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
her.
Exactly.
I don't know. Anyway, I like the theory, possibly, maybe not. And finally, the reveal that it was Charlie's head, and not his son. This was brilliant because, like Dylan, I was sure he had just stabbed his son. But
Yeah.
the creepiest part of all of this isn't the first time. This
No.
kid has cut the eyes out of children before.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
amazing. This kid's going to need therapy. This is how Michael Myers is created. Like, this is not good.
First of all, I love that who they cast as the principal. Because the first thing everyone thinks of him when they see him is the movie Happiness. If you've never seen Happiness, it's one of the few movies in my history of cinema going I actually had to pause and take a break from. It bothered me so much
Wow.
because of him, because he plays a pedophile and he plays it really, really, really well. So to have him in, and anytime I see him in a movie, I'm like, oh, that's great. And this came right like soon on the heels of that. So right there, love the casting. Love that he's like slimy, but he's hysterical at the same time. He's been talking to himself. When Billy's calling down, the most annoying voice, the loudest, most annoying voice, he doesn't understand what be quiet is. You want to hate him. You understand why his dad would want to kill him. So they set it up to be that way. So that you're right. It just adds to the, he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him. I just love it. I just love this segment because you're right. It's one of the few that caught me off guard. Didn't expect it to go where it went. And again, so many small parts. When he's leading Billy down the stairs, in the forefront of the scene, hanging on the wall, is about 20 masks.
Yes,
obviously
I did notice
the dad
that.
wears. When we see him later on as the vampire, we see his work clothes. And just the fact that he's also the principal of the local school, when the three kids go, hey, Principal Skinner, whatever his name was, I love that they gave us small hints that paint such a bigger picture of this one disturbing 10 minutes. It was so fucking good. So, I mean, as far as this segment goes, it's just when it comes back to Krieg's scene, seeing the other side of it, because again, if you blink, you miss that Krieg was taken out by something in his own house.
So good.
So you might have missed it, but when it goes back, you see the opposite scenes of this. Again, I love the way it ties together. Pulp Fiction, everyone's, Pulp Fiction, Pulp Fiction. This movie nailed the back and forth messed up timeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, nailed it.
Yeah, it did a really good job with it. Very tight storytelling.
I really liked it in Pulp Fiction as well. I mean, spoiler, that movie's fucking awesome.
Laurie is a 22-year-old virgin who's shy and self-conscious. Her older sister Danielle tries to boost her confidence by taking her to a Halloween party with two of her friends. The girls all dressed in fairy tale costumes and Laurie is stuck as Little Red Riding Hood. They walk through town on the way to the party, picking up dates, but Laurie is discouraged. She promises to meet the girls later at a party. Meanwhile, a young woman is making out with a masked man in the alley. He affectionately kisses her neck, but when she looks down, she sees blood running down her body. The man smiles, revealing blood on his fangs. The woman screams and runs, but everyone thinks it's just makeup and she's drunk. The man is behind her, and he finishes the job. At the bonfire party in the woods, Danielle stands alone worrying about Laurie. As Laurie walks down a dimly lit path in the woods, she senses someone is following her. It's the masked man. He grabs her by the neck and holds her against a tree, saying, "My, what big eyes you have," before biting her neck. At the party, a cloaked body falls out of a tree near the fire. Danielle nervously approaches the body and removes a mask to see our vampire, bleeding and begging for help. His mask is removed and Principal Wilkins blinks in the firelight, whimpering. Laurie appears and approaches Wilkins and straddles him, telling him to bear with her since it's her first time. The other girls start to dance as Wilkins looks around in shock to see that all of the men are dead. The girls rip off their skin, revealing coarse fur and lupine fangs. Laurie begins to change herself and leans down to Wilkins to whisper, "My, what big eyes you have," before lunging into his neck. The other werewolves finish the remains of their dates howling at the moon as Sam looks on from a nearby log. So yeah, this one definitely got me with the reveal of who the vampire is. Who was going to think that it was going to be the principal? I have a tiny quibble with it because if Wilkins is a serial killers have MOs, and this is not following his MO as we saw in the previous scene, but it's a small quibble. I'm not I'm not above letting it go to enjoy the scene. Um, Maybe the girls are really his more fun thing, and the kids were just because they annoy him at work. It could be possible.
Yeah, I have zero problem with this.
Go
No,
ahead.
he's a killer, but he
Yes.
also lives in fucking Salem, fucking Halloween Town, USA. So he also enjoys Halloween. So he takes the opportunity to do this every year. He picks a different persona to dress up as and goes out and fucking murders. And I loved it. And I was also super fooled by this reveal, by all of this, in fact. So the three bad girls, when I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God, they're so thirsty for boys. It's almost weird. And then I was like, in fact, this whole town is full of horny girls that are like going in the alleys with men for sex. And I'm like, I was kind of not up for it. I'm like,
You've
it's
not been
just,
to Salem during
I'm
Halloween,
like,
have
but
you?
I'm like, it's weird. But this was the misdirection that worked so well for me because I didn't see it coming. He took me by surprise by making me think I was smarter than the movie. Where I'm like, oh, all these horny girls. No, it was done intentionally and it really worked. Because I was clueless until the reveals. The vampire was for me the creepiest villain until the reveal that the group of slutty girls was actually a homicidal club of werewolves, which was fucking amazing. Um, so great plot twist that I did not see coming. Then we get the second twist that Lori actually isn't looking to lose her virginity sexually, but rather she's looking for her first kill, which again I thought was so fucking good when they gave it to me. Then the twist that Principal Wilkins is the vampire serial killer was again a total surprise. And we get that he's two sides of the same coin. We see him as the fucking ruthless killer, but then we see him as the groveling, like wimpy principal. And I thought this was really great. And then finally, Lori killing Principal Wilkins, set to Marilyn Manson's version of Sweet Dreams, is probably my favorite scene in the movie. Because it feels like the female version of the Lost Boys, right? This is the female version of the Lost Boys. And honestly, I felt like this could have been its own movie. Like I feel like this could have been Lost Boys too. Like they could have written this thing up and it would have been a movie that I would have been down for 100%, right?
Yeah,
Tony,
I almost feel like it was too bad that it was just a little part in this movie and not
I
bigger.
I would watch this as its own standalone movie with more character building and a bigger universe just for these girls. I think it would be great.
Oh, please. You have these girls walking the boardwalk of Santa Carla against
Yes.
David and the boys.
Oh,
Forget it.
yeah.
Throwing money at the screen.
Oh, I
Love
love
it.
it. Yes, me too.
But
And the
yeah,
effects they used during these werewolf transformations, fucking love the way these werewolves
yeah.
looked.
Every monster, creature, gore effect, perfect. Everything was practical. No CGI. Nothing. These are puppets. These are masks. These are contact lenses and fangs. Everybody just everything about this fucking movie just nails it. And I fucking love it. I love the fact that when we meet them, all the hints are dropped. Second viewing, third viewing, you pick up more and more. When she's knocking, come on, I want to see what the costume looks like on you. I'm not coming out. Hey, if you don't open the door, I'm going to huff and puff. And
Yeah.
she like turns
Right.
to the other and winks. It's like there's that. She's dressed as Little Red Riding Hood. Big
Yes.
fucking drop hint there.
Yeah.
All of this is there, and just going back to the Marilyn Manson song, second time that was used in a horror movie perfectly. Starts out slow, the girls are dancing, like, oh, it builds and builds and builds. This is the same way it was used in the House on Haunted Hill remake when we find out everybody's getting invited to the haunted castle. I love when music fits the scene.
Yeah.
Like, there's times when you'll hear the song when you're not even watching the movie, like, instantly brings you back to the movie. That's what Freebird is now, unfortunately, for Devil's Rejects. It's
Right.
what Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dream is for this. There's certain music that just goes with it. I can't hear Cry Little Sister without thinking Lost Boys.
Of course.
It's
Oh,
forever, ever paired.
so
Not
good.
like you hear that without Lost Boys, but what I'm saying is it's just, there's certain songs that fit scenes, and this just worked perfectly. Um, Him being the killer in that and getting just desserts, again, they didn't even need to do that. It could have just been her picking out nerdy guys or whatever. It could have been that. But the fact that they brought that in to tie that loose end, like, oh, what happened to them after he, helped Billy cut the eyes out? Now we know he died. And the fact that at the end of the movie we go back and Billy's sitting dressed up as him, handing out candy, waiting for his dad to
sitting
come
on the
home,
steps.
is like, well, we know what's going to happen to him. Every single thread in this movie got fucking tied up so well by the end of the segments. And again, just the casting. Oh, Anna Paquin. She doesn't need this movie. She doesn't need to be in
No.
this low budget. Nobody heard of this movie. And this was
Was
during
this
her True Blood
pre-True?
phase.
Oh, was it
It
during?
was like first season, second season. It was
Gotcha.
so she was starting. She already had her Oscar from the piano. She did her thing, so she doesn't need this movie, but she did it because loved the movie, loved the screenplay.
Yeah.
And just I'm a sucker for werewolves done right, and this one did it right.
Me
It
too.
showed us what they look like, but it didn't beat us over the head with a fake puppet. Even though a couple of the shots were a little,
A little
wonky.
sketch, but that's okay.
Again, I appreciate what this is. This is a comic book come to life. I expect it to be a little cartoony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just this,
Yeah,
this
the,
whole.
Like you mentioned, the practical effects when Anna Paquin like kind of bends down and you see her back and it's like the spine pops out. I was like, oh, that's so good. I love a good practical effect. You know me. And that was so well done.
And there's nothing hotter when she starts really transforming and the eyes are all smoky. And I'm like, all right, I would totally fall for this pack of werewolves.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no doubt.
and they make a point of showing his fake vampire teeth falling out, and he realizes he's a fake vampire going up against a real fucking werewolf, and it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people had a problem with some of the scenes, like where Charlie is throwing up from the chocolate bar, like, oh, he ate half a chocolate bar. But this is how it would be shot if this was a cartoon, or if this was a comic book and this was one frame in a comic book. It would show like the projectile like over the top. And I loved it. I didn't want to see him just dribble some chocolate onto his shirt and do the old,
No.
you know, I
Yeah.
want that. Give me that flow. You know,
And I don't know what sounds they got, but the sounds were disgusting. This hollow, guttural.
Yeah. Mhm.
It was just totally, totally gross. Loved it.
Fucking
Every
great.
second of it.
Fucking great.
Four costumed teenagers scour the neighborhood for jack-o'-lanterns and stop at the home of Rhonda, who's dressed as a witch with a yard full of jack-o'-lanterns. Macy, the de facto leader of the group, who's dressed as an angel but has a super shitty attitude that doesn't match the costume, makes Schrader ask Rhonda for one of the pumpkins and invite her to come with them. Macy leads them to the abandoned rock quarry, where she reveals that they're there to leave pumpkins for the kids that died in a horrific act of bus crash murder/accident 30 years before. The bus was carrying 8 mentally disturbed children clad in Halloween costumes. They were so troubled that they were chained to their bus seats. That fateful day, the driver, paid off by the children's parents, took the kids to the quarry to murder them, intending to make it look like a horrible accident. However, while double-checking the restraints, one of them gets free. Disturbed and confused, he accidentally puts the bus in gear and drives it over the edge. Macy says that the driver survived but was never heard from again, and the bus was never recovered, possibly because the rest of the town just didn't want to bother. Macy, Sarah, and Schrader take the small elevator down and tell Rhonda and Chip they'll send it back for them. On their way down, Rhonda and Chip hear the panic cries and screams of the other three and watch as the lights of their jack-o'-lanterns go out. Rhonda tells Chip to stay in the elevator with the remaining pumpkins, saying they'll protect him. Walking through the mist, she eventually comes to the wreckage of the half-submerged school bus. She's suddenly attacked by 2 water-drenched figures covered in chains and runs to see a third disemboweling Chip. As they chase her, Rhonda loses her glasses before tripping and hitting her head on the rock, blacking out. When she comes to, she realizes the others have pranked her. Schrader apologizes, but Macy is unremorseful and kicks a still-lit jack-o'-lantern into the lake before whispery voices are heard surrounding them. Schrader leads Rhonda to the elevator, and when he hears the others screaming, tells her to stay put while he goes to see what's up because he suspects another prank. But when he meets up with the others, they all see the figures of the 8 dead children rise out of the lake, still tied in their chains. They run for the elevator, though Sarah is caught by strands of chains and dragged away. The other 3 make it to the elevator just to see Rhonda locked inside with the rest of the jack-o'-lanterns, and they beg her to open the door, but Rhonda presses the button to go up and leaves the others to their fate. Rhonda exits the elevator and leaves the quarry, towing her pumpkins in her red wagon. Sam is sitting nearby as she leaves. I loved this one. This one, to me, it could have been a whole movie.
Yeah,
Legitimately.
definitely.
A whole
Totally
movie
agree.
all on its own. You know who these kids are the minute you meet them. You know, Macy's a douchebag. You know, Chip is kind of like, he's younger, so he's kind of a follower. The other girl with the braces, she's kind of doing the same. Schrader, you know, has the balls to stand up to Macy and be like, this isn't right. You know, like, but, you know, you did go through with it to begin with. So it is what it is. And of course, the whole thing with the kids in the bus was like, so heartbreaking and so sad. And yeah, it really it was very deep for just a slice of an anthology.
Yeah. So this one, right off the bat, when Schrader befriends Martha, I literally said out loud, "Oh, this is Carrie. This is the plot of Carrie, but with
Uh-huh.
little kids." And but it's not. But just like this whole movie, none of it is like ripped off where I'm rolling my eyes and going, "Oh, this sucks." No, it's just giving you that flavor. It's just like that. I know this. This is familiar to me. Um, so this one, Dylan, I wrote that in my notes too. This could have been its own movie, but when you're doing an anthology like this, there's not enough time to really flush the entire story out and give it the attention it needs. So it was not completely formed, kind of like the werewolf one, but it was enough to let me see what he had here. And it was enough to be successful as a short, right? Um, it had my favorite character in the whole movie, which was Rhonda Retard. I love this character. She was great. I I loved the way the character was written. I love the way the actress played it. Um, just a lot of fun. It was really good. I mean, it had that sort of what's that? Stranger Things type feel. It could have been done kind of like that. But this part of the story got a little bit wonky, and not in a bad way, but it got a little wonky. So there's 8 families in a town that were all so sick of taking care of their special needs children that they were going to pay to have them chained to a short bus and drowned alive like rats in the quarry. I mean, honestly, this is the darkest note in the entire movie. This is like horrifying. But then Dougherty, that's the director's name, right?
Doherty.
Then Doherty goes one step further and has the bus driver take what I can only imagine was a small fee to murder the children that he has presumably gotten to know over the years, right? So I really have to suspend my belief here that this many people would want to, murder these children in such a horrific way. But again, this is the darkest idea in the entire movie. So, yeah,
But
I'm
the
going
other
with it.
thing, is that you have to remember that when it comes to like local legends and the ghost stories we tell each other as
Yes.
kids, it's shit like that.
Yes.
And like you're not thinking about the logistics and did the parents really do that? Like we were telling stories to each other in middle school and high school that scare your fucking pants off.
Yep.
And they weren't real, but we did it anyways.
And you just
Or
hit
were
the
they?
nail on, yeah. And you just hit the nail on the head because this is this whole thing is an urban legend. You're reading a comic book. So yeah, give it to me super dark and dirty. And they did. So I'm all in on this story. I thought it was fucking great.
Those are my favorite movies. The Legend Lives. I love urban legends come to life, even if they're cheesy shit. There's a movie called Madman, which is in my like top 50 of all time movies. The Burning, any of the ones where like, and the body's still there. Anything that ends in a campfire story of that. All right, tell me more. I will keep eating the popcorn. Give me more. Um, again, acting on these kids is fucking legit. Every kid
Yes.
pulled off
Yes.
the stereotype of who they're supposed to be. The little bitch, the jock who's obviously with a heart of gold, but under the tutelage of the bitch, and the 2 followers. And then you got
Yes.
Rhonda, who's an idiot savant, not a retard. Let's get that straight.
Yeah.
She was awesome, so sweet, so caring. Just wanted to be part of the group. I made this one. I also made my Halloween costume, and just you could see that she knew how awkward she was when she's like, "Oh, I did this myself." Sam Wayne is the festival of this where the veil between realities is different. Oh, well, I like your eye patch. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
She's so
Yeah.
cute. She gets how awkward she is, but then tries to make it better, which makes you sympathize with her so much more, knowing they're gonna fuck with her. I like that they, again, because they're trick or treating, looking for 8 jack o' lanterns. You get here's his principal again. We get to see him again. We get to see the drunk party for the adults are having without the kids. So it's just small snippets of just this neighborhood, this world that they live in, that the adults are too busy doing their own thing to care about the kids. Hello, 1986.
Yeah.
That's no one knew where we were on Halloween trick or treating. We were
Yeah.
out all night, and it didn't matter. Again, this one is the most nostalgic, but as you said, the darkest. For the parents to kill the kids, anyone to kill a kid is just vicious. And these kids were just spooky. When they pull back and they show the whole bus full of kids, and they're made in like for lack of a better term, the welfare costumes of bags and cutout eyes, and no one really had a real costume. They had kind of masks and kind of not. So it was sad. And
Yes.
seeing him pulling at the chains is like, oh my God, this is really going to go there. And when it did, the shot of the bus pulling forward, disappearing off the cliff, not breaking, following the bus and looking down, and the bus is already submerging. I don't know if they timed it right. I don't know how they cut the footage. Perfect timing. Everything about this, like every shot. When we get later on, they go down. It's at night. The fog's there. The front of the bus is sticking. The back of the bus is sticking out of the muck. It's just nightmarish. It's beautiful and haunting at the same time. I can't like gush enough about the look and feel of these scenes.
Yeah.
And just the ending of it, again, the eight of them crawling out of the mud,
Yeah.
horrifying.
But this
Yeah.
is the end of this is so reminiscent of the end of the Ted Danson sequence in Creepshow, where all the drowned people come back and and I really got that vibe, and I smiled to myself because it gave me that feeling I got when I saw Creepshow the first time.
Michael Dougherty has never shied away from the fact he's like, look, I grew up on these movies. I love these movies. Please understand, I'm not ripping off anything. I am paying homage to all of the things I grew up loving.
Yeah.
And this is my love letter. Hopefully someone will take some of my thoughts and my feelings and give it someone else in 20 more years. And I see that.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. I mean, his next movie, what do you make? Krampus, which is the Christmas equivalent of this.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, the guy's got visions. The guy's got ideas. The guy is one of us that grew up in our age group who remembers what it was like to be a kid during these times. And this movie literally imprints it on film.
So I know Delin never did this, but Tony, when you were like, 12, 13, did you ever take
Kill a
the
hooker?
sewing?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever take the sewing needle and put it in the tip of the Barbasol shaving cream can and then use the lighter so you make the hole the size of the sewing needle and pull it out, and then that way it would shoot like 20 feet? No.
No.
Man, you
That's
guys missed
horrible.
out on Halloween. That was like the shit. Everybody did that. You get your can, you get your pin, you fucking
No,
burn
you
the tip.
delinquents did that. Us normal kids didn't.
Tony,
We ran from you.
yeah. Tony, do me a favor.
Telling me.
Get a fucking can of Barbasol, the old school can of Barbasol shaving cream, put the pin in, light the tip with a lighter, form it around the pin, pull it out, and hit the button, and you'll be like, oh.
I'm not gonna put a lighter anywhere near an aerosol can.
And then and then put it in your child's hand and send him out trick-or-treating. Okay.
3 trick-or-treaters walk up to the porch of a dark old house with no Halloween decorations and nervously knock on the door. It opens to pitch darkness, and they nervously hold out their bags saying trick-or-treat. They are frightened away by Krieg's dog Spite in a monster costume. He collects the children's dropped candy bags and retreats inside where he's burning old pictures. Krieg hears Spite barking outside before he sees an egg hit his window. He runs to the front door and opens it to see his entire yard is now decorated with dozens of jack-o'-lanterns. Spite continues to bark in the backyard, and Krieg goes to investigate where he has his conversation with Wilkins that we saw earlier. Inside, Spite goes upstairs barking and is suddenly silenced. Krieg follows him up and notices something moving under the covers. He pulls back the blanket and sees a mechanized hand before a pumpkin set on a table in the corner suddenly starts spewing flames, revealing words scribbled all over the walls and ceiling. Trick or treat, give me something good to eat.
Nice.
Krieg then screams and something stabs him from under the bed. He looks up to see Sam appear from the other side of the bed. Sam shows him the candy bar and peels back the wrapping to reveal the razor blade inside. Krieg manages to escape down the hallway but trips on the landing and falls to the bottom. The staircase is covered in small pieces of candy and glass shards, and Krieg winces at his hands covered in bloody cuts. Struggling as Sam attacks again, Krieg makes it to the far window where he calls out to Wilkins just before being tackled. He tries to fight off Sam and manages to rip off his burlap mask. Instead of finding a human child's face underneath, Sam's face is a horribly deformed pumpkin with beady eyes and sharp teeth. Krieg is able to get his shotgun aimed at him and shoots enough times that he severs his hand. He dials 911, but the line goes dead, and the severed hand attacks him. He crawls back to Sam and reattaches before the small attacker approaches Krieg one more time, preparing to stab him with a bitten pumpkin lollipop. Krieg grabs at things on the table, sending everything flying. Sam stabs Krieg, but instead of his chest, the lollipop spears a candy bar. Sam eats it and decides this is something good to eat, and he leaves. Photos are in the fireplace, and it reveals that Krieg was our bus driver.
Yes.
Later, a heavily bandaged Krieg answers the doorbell to give candy to some trick-or-treaters. From his porch, he sees Sam go towards Emma and Henry's house. Rhonda then walks by along the street, pulling her wagon absentmindedly, and is almost hit by a car carrying our werewolf girls, laughing in human form. Billy Wilkins sits on his porch, handing out candy, wearing a costume to mimic his father's appearance, complete with glasses and bloody shirt, unaware that his father is dead. Krieg walks back inside, and the bell rings again. He opens it to see the children from the bus massacre. They leap forward and begin to rip him apart.
Nice.
I loved the wrap up at the end. To me, that was one of the best parts because you just saw all the things, all the little webs, just boop, everything just fit back together perfectly. And it was really clever. And it's very interesting to me. This all happened in four houses across the street from each other, but that's okay. I got no problem with that.
Yeah. So this final one, the old man really had, again, just the flavor of the old man in the bug story from Creepshow.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
even looks like
it,
him.
Yes, he was playing it just like it. The little killer, Sam, this is Chucky. I mean, it is. And I'm getting those Chucky vibes and I'm loving it. So there's a scene when the old guy shoots Sam and Sam flies across the hall and hits. Dude, I fucking laughed out loud. I thought this was hilarious. Tony, I know there's another movie that did this. I can't think of what it is where you get the cut ankle from behind. Was it Children of the Corn?
Cut angle from behind? What do you mean?
Cutting the Achilles tendon.
Cutting
like
the
did.
Achilles from behind.
Pet Cemetery. It was a total nod to Pet Cemetery.
That's right.
Where he caged under the bed, slices the Achilles.
Okay. I knew I had seen it somewhere. And I have seen enough horror to catch everything he was doing. I was picking it all up. Some of the stuff I wasn't sure where I'd seen it, but I've seen, Pet Cemetery enough times to have recognized it. Something felt familiar there. I love the reveal that Mr. Krieg was the bus driver. And I am embarrassed to say I did not figure it out until I saw the picture in the fireplace.
Right.
I feel like I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. And when I saw it, I went, oh, that's so much fun.
I think the only tip of the hat is when he comes out of the water, he's wheezing.
No, I think
he has the same scars on the face too.
Yes, he has the same scar. And is he wearing a ring or something?
It's the ring on it's a class ring.
Yeah. So there were a couple of Easter eggs to give you this, but I didn't get it either. And I'm glad I didn't get it. Now I'm kind of like on the fence with this because would it have been more fun to know up front that he was the guy and knowing that eventually they were going to resolve this whole thing with him being the final kill? So you have that anticipation like, oh, he's going to get it. He's the bus driver. I'm fine either way. If I picked it up earlier, great. If it's a complete surprise with the picture in the fire, great. Works both ways. And honestly, I'd probably watch this movie again to look at it with the knowledge and see how it plays out this way. So this story was like a little appetizer for me. It was simple and good. It wasn't overwritten. Just like in Creepshow, everyone can't be the werewolf story. Everyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was the one that was the appetizer for me, but it was fun.
I also kind of wondered why Sam focused on him. Was it just because he had the dark house? So,
he wasn't giving out candy.
He turned on Halloween.
Yeah. Okay.
Number one fucking crime in this movie.
Well, that's the rules. I mean, Sam's got the rules. Don't blow the jack-o'-lanterns out. Don't take your decorations down.
Right.
Always check your candy. There's 5 or 6 different rules, and he broke all of them.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I love that Sam was made of pumpkin inside when he was stabbed or broken.
He gets shot. That was great.
It's so fucking
pumpkin
good.
Guts.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people get this little guy tattooed. I'd seen this little character many, many times and didn't know what it was or where it was from.
No, I thought he was going to be like a Chucky, like legitly, like through the whole movie. I didn't realize he was kind of like the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, but before I had ever even heard of this movie, I have seen this character before and not known what it was from.
Iconic at this point, yeah.
Yes, not knowing what it was from.
The small details he put in with him, like when he gets the candy and he goes down the stairs and his bag's falling behind him, there's like a little cat. Every step, it's like those small things are like, oh, that was good. That was good. Again, this one had so many homages to other things, like shoots the hand off, hand gets reconnect. You got to be fucking kidding me.
No, that's the elevator. That's the elevator in Cabin in the Woods. So I think Cabin in the Woods came out after this. So just like Doherty says, I hope somebody borrows one of my ideas. And this is, I mean, I know that's
Well, it's
not.
also evil. It's also Evil
Yeah,
Dead.
it's not
Evil
completely
Dead's the
original.
hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're
I
right.
had the cool thing again, reading all of the stuff I've read up to be ready for tonight. I never noticed it, but I think it's beautiful. There are 8 locks on Mr. Krieg's door, one for each of the victims that he killed. I never noticed it, and I'm watching the movies, going, there it is. That's good.
Nice.
Just on a side note, to go back to it, Rhonda's house was modeled after Carrie White's residence from the movie Carrie.
Oh, that's
Just for that
so
reason.
good.
It was inspired by a scene towards the end of Palma Class where the house was lit by a number of candles in the windows. So yeah, good call on that one.
Yeah, this is one of those movies, I think a second viewing, I would even appreciate it more because I picked up so many little Easter eggs going through it,
I got to be on, I think today was maybe my at least 10th or 11th time seeing it. And there's still things I'm picking up just for the crossing of each other. I mean, just again, this one, just the images of Sam standing up, all of the jack-o'-lanterns in the room flaming up, get the fire in the background, the bloody writing all over the ceiling, the walls. Again, iconic scenes.
Yeah. Did you notice that the little girls that came to ask him for candy, one of them was dressed as the 3 little pigs? So it was 3 little girls dressed as the 3 little pigs, and you had the werewolf and the little, I was like, okay.
Hitting all of the grim.
Yep. Yep.
Apparently, and again, I don't see it, but they said the reason they put Brian Cox in so much prosthetics is to make him look like John Carpenter. Because John Carpenter is such a huge influence to Doherty, he wanted to pay tribute, even though it's a terrible character, I guess, with the look of it. I don't see it, but that's a huge thing I kept reading over and over and over and over again.
Interesting.
So interesting.
Nice. Yeah, and I love this final little scene, this final little scene they give us, the wrap up. I thought it was clever, and it was a perfect little bow tie for this tightly written movie.
It goes right back to the first scene of the movie. Literally the first scene. It's perfect loop.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Love this movie.
All right, so I think that we have properly broken down Trick or Treat. So let's head over to the recasting couch, and then we'll do some alternate endings. And I've got an amazing recast, and I've also got an amazing alternate ending. So I would replace Dylan Baker, who was Principal Wilkins, with one Steve Buscemi, who I think would play it perfectly.
I like it.
I think he'd be so good.
Especially with his creepy eyes.
Oh, yeah. This would be great. Tony, what do you got for a recast?
Not one. I know I'll probably get shit for it, but it's there's no one in this movie I could see doing. I'd want to see in any of these other roles. I mean, I could nitpick. Maybe some of the girls could be different names, but they were all perfect. They were the ditzies, the bitchy blonde, the 2 little followers. I mean, there's literally no one with a speaking role. I could say I'd rather see someone else in that role.
Right.
So I feel the casting on this was absolutely perfect because there was not one bad performance here.
That's okay. Lynn, who are you recasting?
So it might be blasphemy, but I'm going to recast Rhonda. Not that the actress didn't do an awesome job, because she did. She was really good. But I kept looking at her and I kept saying, she looks like somebody. Who does she look like? She looks like Linda Cardellini to me. She looks just like a young Linda Cardellini. I want to recast her as Linda Cardellini, like her Freaks and Geeks age.
Nice. All right.
That's good.
Yeah. Let's do the alternate endings.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Good call.
So I have got a good one. So the end of the movie, we see the old man bus driver opens the door and sees the short bus children standing there. At this moment, we cut to Billy Hopkins, the little boy from the original Creep Show, waking up, screaming from a nightmare. His father storms into the room and slaps him and takes the horror magazine off the bed that Billy was secretly reading before he fell asleep. The father throws it in the trash can outside. The pages blow in the wind, revealing the different stories that we just witnessed. It was all Billy's bad dream. There it is. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Tony liked my he liked my ending this time. I put a lot of thought into this fucking podcast tonight. Tony, what do you got for an alternate ending today?
Well, when the zombies go towards Krieg and it turns to a comic book, it turns out it's the inside of the final panel of this comic book this little kid in bed is reading as his dad comes in and he's really angry about the comic book he's reading, and I don't know, something like that, I guess. I don't know.
Were you really going there too?
Fucker.
Did you really have that too? Did you really have
of
that too?
course.
Oh, that's
It's
so
a total
good.
continuation of it. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. Delyn, you want to just go ahead and fucking piggyback on that?
So here's my thing. I didn't rewrite the ending. I rewrote the beginning. Well, because
That wasn't the assignment.
Well, here's the deal.
joking.
If you want me to do it, let me do it.
I do. Go.
Okay?
I'm joking. Come on.
Okay. So here's a little problem I had with this is like, okay, so why is this all happening tonight? Like the kids died 30 years ago. Like this obviously doesn't happen every Halloween because it would be a huge problem if like, numerous people were being killed every Halloween. So like, why is this tonight? I wanted to know why Sam is there tonight. Like, was he summoned by somebody? Was it like somebody broke a seal or like I wanted that. Like, give me something like three kids like summoned him, because that's kind of where I thought the Macy Rhonda story was going, that they were going to summon something, and I didn't see coming what ended up happening, but that's what I needed. I needed something explaining why Sam's there and is enforcing the Halloween rules. So that was my rewrite.
I think that we discussed that, how that section of the movie could have been its own movie, and I think summoning Sam, would have been part of that if it had been flushed out more. So I think that really works. Okay, so that's it. Let's do some final thoughts. We'll score it, and there we go. So if you listen to the podcast, horror is not really my thing, but this is the exception to the rule. I thought it was fun. I thought it was well paced. I thought it was tightly written. And I would actually watch this one ahead of Creepshow if given the choice. I think I would watch this one. Definitely an updated, more modern, faster paced, better version of Creepshow, in my opinion. This is one of the few horror movies that if I was flipping through the TV on a Sunday and it was on, that I would probably leave on as background. So yeah, my rewatch score for this is 3.666. See what I did there? So cheesy. Tony, what do you got?
I think there's only been two other movies I've given a perfect 5 to. This is going to be number 3.
Uh-oh.
I love this movie. And not because it's a completely perfect movie, but because it's perfect for me. How stupid is that sounding? But Halloween being my favorite season, when I think Halloween, I think every frame of this movie. I picture the middle of downtown Salem without the throw up. I picture the happy celebrating. I picture the teens. I picture the kids going trick-or-treating. Starting at 5, sun goes down, kids are out having fun. I picture the dead leaves, not just leaves thrown on a fucking perfectly green grass. Grass is a mess. Houses have decorations. Some don't. They look, streets wet. It literally is Halloween in this movie. As many times as I've seen it, I've not shockingly gotten sick of it because I don't watch it a lot. I make sure I watch it just around Halloween, so I keep the love for it. And again, Creepshow was one of my higher ratings, and this is the modern equivalent of it. And I will give it that kind of rating as well. So I'm going a perfect 5 on this. I love this movie.
Nice. I like it. And if this had been a little more in my genre, obviously I probably would have gone a little higher, but 3.666 for me on a horror movie is basically a 5. Delyn, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna be surprised. I'm kind of surprised that you scored it a 3.666. I figured you were so glowing. I expected a higher score from you.
Same.
I had a couple little quibbles with it, but honestly, it was a lot of fun. And if you like Halloween and you like scary movies, and this one, like, even though there was like quote unquote horror and gore, I was never like watching it and being like, ew, and having to look away, because sometimes when I watch a scary movie, I do that. Like if somebody gets stabbed in the eye, I'm like, okay, I'm out for a couple of seconds, like I got to look away. But I didn't have to with this. I just enjoyed it and enjoyed the scare without it being like terrifying or totally overly gross. So I'm going to give it a 3.999. So almost a 4.
All right. So since this is my show, I get to change the rules. I'm going to change my score because I actually had a different score written down originally. So my revised score is going to be 4.13. See what I did there? 4.13. You guys are right. It's better than 3.5. It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I had no problem.
I was like, you really enjoyed it, and then you gave it like a mid-pack score. I was like, what's going on?
It's like,
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. This is a 4+. So this is 4.13.
All
So
right.
go ahead.
So when you add it all together, it comes to 4.709666666. So let me just see where that lands.
It's going to land it high.
It is 70. It comes in at number, oh my God.
Oh, no. Don't
It comes in at number 13.
Oh,
Yes!
that's so good. That's so good. Oh, I fucking love that.
What's above and below?
Right above it is Fight Club. And right below
right.
it is Sinister and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I gotta say that's good for me. I can't argue with those.
Yeah, I mean, this is in the same company with Sinister, completely different kind of movie, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sinister scared the fucking cunt
Yeah.
out of me. Sorry,
Yeah.
but that movie I had to pause the first time I watched it. I
Yeah.
was like, I need a break.
I mean, eventually it will get knocked out of 13 because something else will come in above it or below it. But for now, there it sits.
I love it.
That's good.
Okay, next week we will be back with Mikki and Tony, and we will be reviewing Money for Nothing, the John Cusack movie. Finds $1 million, falls off a armored truck. So great movie. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, John Cusack movie, loaded with great actors. James Gandolfini, Botello, what's his name? Antonio Banderas.
No, it's not Antonio Banderas. It's in Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, that guy. Wonder Boy.
All those
from
vowels in a
Copland.
row. You know?
Yeah, this is loaded with the stars. Great movie. I really enjoyed it.
He gets confused anytime a guy sounds like he is like El Torito.
Yes, El Toritos. Closed franchise now, but had wonderful deep fried ice cream. So yes, last week on Violent Vinyl, our sister podcast, we broke down 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine, and this week we will be doing Whitesnake's album, Whitesnake, the one with all the hits. So there you go.
Nice.
Tune in for that. Until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.